Hello, everyone. So last week, I said something about how God chooses, it seems like God chooses the most vulnerable time or the most difficult time to address an issue. And it's almost as if you're asking Him, you could have addressed this earlier before I was in this tight corner or in this tight situation. Yeah, so I was studying the book of Joshua and I came across the story of the Israelites just before they crossed River Jordan, right? So they were camped at the river and they spent about 3 days there, and God gave them instructions on how to cross the river and the things they were to do while crossing and after crossing and the whole thing. And so the day came and they followed God's instructions and they crossed to the other side, did everything they were instructed to do, and everything went well. And then at the end of it, while they were on the other side of the river, God then asked them to circumcise themselves. And I was thinking, they're literally now in enemy territory. They've crossed the Jordan River. They spent a number of days on the other side. Physically speaking, it seemed safer to ask them to circumcise themselves while they were on the other side of the Jordan. I mean, there was an entire river between them and the enemy territory. But God didn't ask them to do that. He asked them to circumcise themselves after they had crossed the Jordan and when it seemed like they were in enemy territory. Now, this is quite significant because sometimes when we find ourselves like in difficult circumstances, it seems like we brought ourselves there. It seems like there's no way God led me here. There's no way God led me here. Like, this does not make sense. And it makes me remember Psalm 1, I think that was verse 3 and 4, in the Message translation, where it says that God sends us in the right direction, even when that way goes through Death Valley. And like, it opened my eyes, like, the fact that I'm in a difficult or tight situation does not mean that God didn't bring me here, right? This could have been the way He has led me. And it's true for a lot of situations or a lot of things. That God's hand is in it doesn't necessarily mean it's easy or there are no obstacles or there's no difficulty. So yeah, that's the first thing I learned. And then the second thing was, so they were asked to circumcise themselves. And if you remember the story of Jacob's sons, when Jacob's daughter was defiled by a non-Israelite and they wanted to marry the Jacob's daughter, but Simeon and Levi asked them to circumcise themselves, them and all the men in the community, and that was the only way they would allow them to intermarry. And the men agreed, and they went back to their community and they circumcised all the men, right? And then just these two men, Simeon and Levi, come into that community, or they came into that community and they killed all the men. That's how much physical circumcision can make a person vulnerable. And this was what God asked them to do, asked the Israelites to do after they had crossed the Jordan, when there was no more barrier between them and the enemy per se. And it's interesting to see that. It's really interesting to see that. So essentially, God is saying here, I'm the one keeping you safe, right? It's not logic. It's not common sense. It's not a physical barrier. It is not an army that keeps us safe. It's God. So even in the most trying times, even in the most difficult times, it is God that keeps us safe. So He can't lead us through a way that goes through the death valley. But he's essentially saying, I am keeping you. Your finances are not keeping you. Your family isn't keeping you. Nothing is keeping you, but I am keeping you. And that is why I can bring you this way, because I'm depending on myself. That's God. I'm depending on myself to keep you. and I will keep you. And if you see the story of the Israelites, the enemy didn't attack them. I mean, it would have made sense that the enemy would say, oh, they're vulnerable now, let's go and attack them. But they didn't. God indeed kept them safe, and they went through the circumcision period and they came out of it and there was no attack. So it's quite difficult to think about it this way, especially when you're in a tight place, when you're in a difficult place. But for me, it's quite comforting to see that, one, God can lead me to a place that's difficult, but two, in that place, He's the one that keeps me safe. He's the one that bears me in his hands. So I don't have to worry too much or try to do calculations on what makes sense. It's quite difficult. That one is quite difficult. But I don't have to do that because He who brought me this way, He knows the way, and He knows how to keep me safe, and He knows how to keep you safe. So I hope this encourages someone in some way. God knows where we are. He knows, because, I mean, if you're in His will, then surely He knows where you are. He brought you there, and He knows how to lead you out of that place safely. So just trust Him. Continue to trust Him in this time. It's not easy. It's not easy. Like I said last week, I'm also in a very vulnerable and tight and difficult position. But it's very comforting to know that God is here with me, and my salvation and my redemption is in Him and Him alone. So once again, let's encourage each other. If you have any other words of encouragement from the Bible, you can share in the comment section, and we'll see you again next week. Have a good week. Bye.